significant, ferocious manner tonight. That seems to be what the plan is and
Is
what
it
may
going to be more
happen.
of the same of yesterday, or is it going to be a notch up? Because it really needs to be a notch up given the scale of the damage that's been done to them today, and the fact they hit refineries. Do we know how critical the infrastructure was that was hit in Iran?
It was hit quite hard because they've used drones. They've got two drone bases basically that are going to be used 24/7, one in Azerbaijan and one in Kurdistan, Iraq. But in my opinion, I think in True Promise 1, they used drones, and True Promise 2, they used drones to scatter the air defense systems. But this time, they didn't need the drones because they realized that ballistic missiles they have free reign to attack where they want. Now, I think because of these refineries being hit, we're going to see drones being used for targets instead of being used for the air defense systems. So, first wave is probably going to be ballistic missiles, and then drones are going to be doing most of the damage, in my opinion. And that's what we're probably going to see tonight.
Wouldn't they need to launch the drones way in advance, though, so they arrive at the same time as a ballistic missile? So I don't think they'd have to come first. They have to come first rather than second.
They will be attacked first, but the missiles are going to be reaching as soon as the drones are going to be reaching. The drones are going to be needed to target specific targets like refineries and whatnot because they have much more direct precision.
So far we've only heard anything about ballistic missiles, 2,000 of them potentially. I really hope that number is accurate because I think that's what's needed. I don't think the same as last night is enough, but do we know anything about the drones? Because there's nothing being mentioned about any drones.
Netanyahu said actually today they have 20,000. I presume they have much more than 20,000.
No, they said 2,000. They've got 2,000.
Oh, who said we? The Iranians?
No, so the Israelis said they predict that Iran's got 2,000 more ballistic missiles, and then there's Iran saying they're going to use 2,000 today. So it seems to be conflicting there.
Yeah, of course. Well, Iranians aren't going to say how many they have, but they've been focused on missiles for 15 years. So no one really knows how many they have, but it'll be illogical to think only 2,000 they have. In terms of the drones, they have an abundance because they're very cheap.
Sure. But what I'm saying to you is we haven't seen any information. The only information we've got so far is Iran. We've had some reports of Iran saying 2,000 ballistic missiles will be today in the next wave. It'll be 10 times as powerful as yesterday. So yesterday was about 200. Today has to be 2,000. That's what we've heard so far. And I don't know why that's been announced. Is it just like incorrect? Is it incorrect information? Is it not accurate? Could could it be a diversion tactic? No one seems to really have any analysis on it.
Let's just give some breaking news. The foreign ministers of Iran and Russia have had a conversation by phone discussing the latest developments amid the Israeli attacks on Iran.
Yeah, and some more breaking news I've sent it to Nathan to put in the nest, but basically, let me just read it out. It's here. Yeah, 2 seconds. Yeah, here we go. Update on Israeli plan. Quote: Israel's current objective is the destruction of Iran's underground Fordo uranium enrichment facility, buried deep within a mountain and considered one of Tehran's most protected sites. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu said the strikes are a response to Iran's growing uranium stockpile and renewed efforts towards weaponization. Analysts note Israel may not have the capability to destroy Fordo without US support, as it lacks bunker busting munitions and heavy strategic bombers. The IAEA confirmed the destruction of the above ground Natan site, but said there is no current evidence of an attack on Fordo. This is according to Axios, and it's called Axios, sorry. So it's obviously pro-Israel. As a Jewish Zionist guy who owns it. But basically, they're saying that when it comes to Fordo, they can't take it out without the support of what's called again, United States of America. So that's going to be interesting. They claim the thing about the Natanz site, but remember that is according to the Israelis. We don't know the level of impact it had, and we know that IAEA, as confirmed by the leaks, is controlled by Israel. And Doc, jump in.
Yeah, just to back up what you said. So the foreign minister, Iranian foreign minister Abbas Araghchi, wow, I can't speak, said that I'm sorry, I lost the thing. Statements by the U.S. president proved that Iran's hostile measures against Iran were the result of Washington's direct support for the regime, and that they are in indirect talks with the U.S. about what's going on. So Iran and the U.S. are in indirect talks, and this is in a conversation he was having with the EU's High Representative for Foreign and Security Policy, Kaja Kallas. So that there's still all these talks, sort of backing up, Simon, what you were saying before. And he pointed out that Iran's diplomatic initiatives to draw global attention to the dangers posed by Israel's destabilizing actions, and called for the European Union and permanent members of the UN Security Council to take responsible stance in condemning the regime's acts of aggression and punishing it.
I appreciate that. I was gonna go to Truth, but he's dropped because
Right,
what's his name? Hassan had a question.
just a quick add by what Callas's response was. This is the EU. She expressed the EU's readiness to support diplomatic efforts in the Security Council and other international bodies to help ease tensions and restore peace and security to the region. I think it's a bunch of rhetoric, but at least this is the rhetoric that's coming out versus the, absolute support of Israel and so on and so forth.
Solomon, what do you reckon? This is going to be a 1 week space. Do you reckon you can do 1 week?
I can't. That's the thing. I'm like, I'm actually trying to think like, what do I need to do? Because I've got some important meetings. Well, I won't be able to do the space. So I'll have to see what happens. What you call it? But yeah, we'll definitely have spaces running. But I don't know if it'll be 24 hours. But let's see what goes on. We may do so. Just put your notifications on. Go to my page, click the follow, and click the notifications. You'll know if we're going live anytime. But make sure you're ready for that. Truth dropped because I didn't want him to answer Hassan's question. I did have some to ask him as well, but all good. Let's go to Angela.
Good morning. It's about 11 o'clock here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for holding this space, just the entire panel. With so much violence around, it's important to have communities that provide information and support. So I thank you for keeping us all informed. I do have a question. At some point, Iran um, is going to need assistance. I imagine they're probably getting assistance, um, maybe from China and other countries. But at some point, there's going to be they need to form an alliance, particularly if this continues for a long time. Um, who who will be part of that alliance, or will they be able to form an alliance?
I'll take that one if you want. They're in an alliance. They're in a very powerful alliance called BRICS. So, most people, they like to criticize BRICS as saying it's a talking shop. And because people think BRICS is a currency, they just focus on the fact that it hasn't launched a currency. But BRICS is an incredibly powerful alliance of countries that have decided to unify around a common mission, and they unified with the GCC. So that alliance is a very powerful alliance. And although you're not seeing, you're not going to see Russia suddenly come in and start joining on the front line and putting Wagner Group in or anything like and marching into Israel or anything crazy like that. But behind the scenes, the BRICS alliance, they have an incredible amount of power over what Israel needs as a nation, and they're able to exert all of that influence. And so behind the scenes, there's been years and years and years of negotiating, and Iran is part of that. It is a vital part of the infrastructure of BRICS and China and Russia, and so therefore, in all of these global negotiations, i.e., China negotiating its tariff and trade policies with US, and Russia negotiating its what's going to happen with Ukraine, and America needing access to rare earth minerals, and all of those things are going to be tied into their strategic partnership that Iran is a vital part of the ecosystem. And that's the, and so all of those things are already happening. I think militarily, I don't think anyone's going to come to actually fight the battle, because I don't think it's needed. They have, in terms of if they need access to different types of military capabilities, then Russia and China behind the scenes would most likely provide that, but they would also leverage it in negotiations, stating that, right, this has to come to an end or this needs to happen. And remember, the entire world, with the exception of America and a few islands, have said we must have a Palestinian state as part of the solution. So all of that leverage is still there. Everything's being negotiated as part of these massive geopolitical shifts in place. In terms of militarily, I think Iran's got everything it needs to hold its ground, and it's got the partnerships and distribution routes. And if it ever wanted to create absolute carnage, then it's got its chokeholds and ports and routes that it can shut down that will create absolute economic chaos. And so, all of the accusations that people give as Iran as a irrational actor, they're incredibly rational. And all of those levers and partnerships are all there. So I think Iran already has everything it needs. And all of those levers are being pulled in the background. They just don't make sexy headlines like wanting to suddenly see Pakistan use nuclear power or to support, or suddenly Russia deploying Wagner Group in order to fight on the front line and invade Israel. All of those things would just cause more carnage, more problems. So that's what I think is happening already.
I would say I've got a different take on it. If I can jump in there. My take is that actually Iran is largely on its own, but the fact that it's on its own is actually a good thing, because through 40 years of sanctions and really tough kind of economic conditions, they've learned to become self-sufficient and manufacture everything end to end, become experts at many different levels of the supply chain that's needed to build the weapons they've got. Now, I don't know exactly how many weapons they've got, but they are, in terms of militarily, on their own here, whereas the entity has America and NATO behind it, the whole of NATO and America behind it, in terms of weight. So it is an asymmetrical
Yeah, but
kind of.
Hassan, nobody's on their own. Like, Iran works with its partners in order to sell its oil and distribute its oil all across Asia and all across different parts of the region. There's no country in the
He
world that
means
doesn't have its
militarily,
own. Say that again?
but he means militarily, right? I mean, no other countries, for instance, sending troops or giving weapons.
Obviously, it's interconnected world. Everyone's got relationships. But what I'm saying is, Iran has learned.
Economic trade is separate. No one disagrees. There's trading partners,
Yeah.
of course.
So Iran
But
has
they
learned.
also need to protect those if they're at risk. So the fact that Russia is sanctioned and Iran are sanctioned is what connects those two in protecting those routes, and therefore, if there's ever a threat, that has to be, they have to consider where they shift their military resources. And
I'll modify it. I'll add one point to it though. Like, Ansarallah is a military partner. Like, they're striking Israel too. They have the common enemy. They're helping Iran's cause.
Yeah, sure. They do have that, but largely at the moment,
Hezbollah may be doing the same very soon. There's
sure.
rumors
It has
that
got
there's
allies
some
in the
rumblings
region.
across the border. So they have two partners. So they have two specific allies. You can't say they're on their own.
Sure, but I guess those allies are supplied by Iran itself. So in terms of it's largely
No, they have some agency now. Both Ansarallah.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. Ansarallah and Hezbollah have the ability to build their own weapons now.
Anyway, so my answer to the lady was, I say that they're largely on their own. Obviously, they're not completely on their own. They have those allies that you mentioned, but they're not massive players can't compare them to America or to the UK or to France or to Germany or Australia. They're not on the same scale, right? Definitely, they've got some support and some allies, no doubt. Although Syria obviously toppled. So yeah, they have got some support, but from state actors, they haven't. By the way, before you jump in, I've got a question which I was posing to you before you left, which was today.
Just before you, Hassan, just before you give that question to Truth, let me just quickly give some breaking news, and then I'll let you give that question. Is this tweet's not in the nest, but it's in the main post on my profile, although I think Nathan will put it up in a few seconds. Breaking news, Netanyahu on Iran's nuclear plans. He said, quote, I'll tell you what would have happened if we hadn't this guy's delusional, bro. I'll tell you what would have happened if we hadn't acted, Netanyahu said. We had information that is unscrupulous, that this unscrupulous regime was planning to deliver the nuclear weapons it would develop to its terrorist proxies. This is nuclear terrorism enhanced. I don't need to understand what he's saying. I can't believe he thinks people are this dumb. But I think, he's basically saying they haven't got nuclear weapons, but they were going to develop those nuclear weapons. And what's worse is when they developed them, they had advanced knowledge that they already were going to give it to their proxies. And it's nuclear terrorism enhanced. This guy is literally doesn't. I can't believe it. Like, he probably thinks people.
He's a cartoon character at this side. He's a literal cartoon character
with a lot
Don't
of power.
laugh. People believe him.
It's mental. It's mental. So that's a statement that tweets at the nest. But it will be in the nest in a few seconds. Oh, it's there, yeah. I put in there Netanyahu looking evil for the picture. So that's that. So so that tweet's in the nest. On the other thing, obviously, I know Hassan's got a question for Truth. Truth, I don't know if you saw that video of that British guy being stopped by them Egyptians. Did you see it?
No, I haven't looked at it yet.
There's a British nurse, and they're going to give aid to Gaza, and then these Egyptian guys stopping him, like looking really bad, like everyone's losing it over it. And what's I thought of you when I saw it, because I was like, listen, I think that's Musab, your boy Musab, probably stopping the poor guy from getting into and giving aid to Gaza.
It's just amusing to me when people still try to make the argument that Egypt somehow supports the Palestinian cause. And I make the distinction between Egyptian people who have good hearts, good intentions, and the regime. It's special forces, it's army, and it's secret service. Yeah, they do not have good intentions. They serve Israel, and they're funded indirectly by Israel as well. Well, obviously, of course, through the American subsidies plus the IMF. So they know who they serve. So it's not surprising to me that their border guards would restrict both humanitarian aid and a nurse from trying to enter Gaza to obviously help the cause.
Yeah, and but for me, I agree with that. But what's worse is, and I've sent you it, is what's worse about it is when you look at the interaction, this British guy is just showing a level of humanity that is unbelievable. And then these guys are just like stone cold ruthless. I think that's what I took from that. It was like really shocking. Like all my friends are like sending me. I'm like, I already posted it, but losing it over it because it's just crazy. So yeah, Hassan, you had that question for Truth. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first question, I think two-pronged question. First one is there's been reports that Israel says that Iran's got 2,000 ballistic missiles left, and then we've also seen kind of reports that Iran will hit today with 2,000 ballistic missiles, which obviously both can't be right. And then the second thing is, we saw yesterday. You said there was going to be a strike. It was there. I think it was good, but obviously we need something much more strong. And those reports of 2,000 ballistic missiles, are they correct? What do you anticipate tonight happening? And will there be drones involved as well on a mass scale, like maybe 2,000, 5,000 drones, something significant where they can actually strike back?